everybody, Livingston here. Today we're jumping into another fun-filled episode of the Twilight Zone. This time it's in Season 2, Episode 5, The Howling Man. Came out November 3rd, 1960, and it's another episode I haven't sat down and watched before. But before we jump into that episode, let's jump into Episode 4, A Thing About Machines, and see what you had to say about that episode. Empire Jeff says, do not let the machines in. This is definitely the lesson you get when watching Star Trek. Definitely so. You have AI, but we have AI that also becomes our friends in The Next Generation. I think there's some AI in the original series. I probably need to sit down and watch the original Star Trek. I've seen quite a few of the episodes of that series, but I haven't really sat down and watched it beginning to end. Not every single episode, so I know I'm missing some here and there. But yeah, it's definitely something that you see in this series as well. Just machines are consistently always going up against man and women or humankind in general, and it's just yeah, it sucks, but it seems to be inevitable that humans are going to go up against machines if an asteroid doesn't pop up or nuclear war doesn't take us out. So hey, we got that going for us, huh? We got Akira Lux. He needed a vacation, very much so. The guy was very stressed. Let's see. The Cosmic Kid 2562 says, this episode always reminds me of someone who is suffering from a severe case of schizophrenia that eventually drives him to suicide, and maybe extreme intense fear kept him on the bottom. I know nowadays I can sense the endings like you, but I was lucky enough to watch these as a kid, and the endings were not so see-through. Love your reactions and thoughts on these episodes. Keep them coming. Will do, the Cosmic Kid. Will do. Michael Stallings 5824 says, this was a sharp car, or that was a sharp car. Wonder how much one like that completely restored would cost today. I don't know. That would be interesting to look up at some point. Robert Schulenberger says, I'm looking forward to seeing you react and to what you think of one of my favorite episodes of The Twilight Zone, The Howling Man, which we're actually doing that this week right now, so stay tuned. Nene's hubby says, this episode taps into the real fear people have back when about the rise of automation. People were afraid that machines would take their jobs and modern conveniences would take away creativity and motivation. Yeah, true, and nowadays we have AI that's coming up and how that is kind of taking some creativity away. Maybe we would go after the AI software over somebody actually doing it themselves. Yeah, we even have AI currently telling people in advertising how to advertise to people out there and to catch their eye by way of what machines believe and what they think. So it's a scary world we're kind of tapping into now. I mean, I can understand the fear of it then, because now it's actually becoming a bit of a reality in some aspects where machines are taking some jobs away. There are still jobs that people can still do that machines can't, but you know, can we say the same thing in 10 years? Wookson 5847 says, I grew up in 60s and 70s. My father and everyone we knew made about $50 a week. That would be about $200 a month. That was before taxes, so $4 for a room was not a bargain. The good old days were not as good as everyone pretends to believe. You know, the way the world works, the way money goes, how far it goes, it definitely all changes, and so does hopefully in some aspects we do get a hike in what we need to earn as civilians in this society that we're in right now, but some of the wages haven't gone up along with some of the inflation. So yeah, basically things change and not everything's as rosy as it was when you know, we lived in those times. I can totally get where people are coming from, but in some aspects I do believe that things were better back in the day compared to now, but we won't dive into all that. P Sparks 3419. I think what Mr. Finchley really needs is a girlfriend. Smiley face. Probably so. I mean, the guy seemed lonely. He looked like he was actually out there trying to find a girlfriend, so it's sad he never got one, but that's how the Twilight Zone goes. God is Love says, I usually always watch your reactions. They're fun. Thumbs up. I just want to tell you, even though we haven't met, I love you, bruh, and hope you find true love and peace in your life. Hey, well, I hope you do too if you haven't already. But and everybody else who commented, I appreciate you commenting in, and we're going to keep on trucking and get into the episode. But before we do, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue on this voyage to episode 156 of The Twilight Zone. So, let's go!
Your next stop, the Twilight Zone.
I of all people know this, and you won't believe me. No, not at first.
I'll try.
You must believe. It happened many years ago after the First World War. One night, I got lost in a storm.
Interesting way of starting the episode. Different so far. Someone else narrating. I'm sure we'll get old Rod popping in at some point.
I'm sorry we don't allow visitors in the hermit.
No. Let him in.
I'm a stranger here. I'm lost. I'll be all right once I dry out.
I have to speak to Brother Jerome.
All right, I'll wait right here. But how long? Uh-oh. What was that about?
Brother Jerome will see you now.
What was that?
The wind.
Lies.
Why have you come here?
I don't know.
My name's Ellington. I got lost in this storm. I saw light here.
What do you want from us?
Just a place to hang my hat for a night.
We cannot help you. You will have to leave.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Ellington.
Should probably skedaddle. Really making it seem disoriented. Uh-oh.
The prostrate form of Mr. David Ellington, and found instead the outer edges of the Twilight Zone.
Oh no. It's not a good place to be. Hello? Oh, hello.
In the name of mercy, help me.
My name's Ellington. I'm an American.
Come closer.
No. No. Don't do that.
I was in the village in Swartov. We paused to rest by a tree, and we kissed. Is it wrong to kiss?
Depends. Was it forced?
You don't think so. I don't think so. I tried to open my mouth to speak, but before I could utter a sound, he raised that heavy staff he carries. Because she refused his advances, he took his fury out on me.
I feel like he's leaving something out.
He makes his madness the madness of a religious zealot. These so-called brothers of truth, cut off from the world because the world won't have them. You must believe me. Where are you going?
I'll speak to Jerome.
No!
I did not know that you were well enough to walk. Come with me, please.
I must talk with you.
This way.
To the front door. Somebody dressed like Moses around here.
We have no facilities for the care of the ill. No, not a minute, not another second, Mr. Ellington. Now.
Why? No, you've explained nothing. No one asked me to come here. I realize that, but that's no excuse for your behavior.
You don't understand.
Explain it to me.
Why in such a hurry for me to leave? What are you afraid I'll find out? It's the man you have locked up in the cell, isn't it, Buck?
Man is this, Mr. Ellington?
The one we just left. The one who's been screaming his head off. I seriously doubt if you have the authority to imprison a man against his will.
Quite true. We have no such authority.
But
No man has ever been imprisoned in the Hermitage, Mr. Ellington.
I was just talking with him.
You talk to no man. You've suffered delirium.
no, this is... What is that?
Oh, no, don't tell me you didn't hear that.
You're what?
I'll find out eventually, you know. The police will be very interested to learn that you people are keeping a man in prison
I
here.
tell you, there is no man.
Let's go back and look.
Mr. Ellington,
Yeah?
Yes.
would you really go to the police?
Would you?
Start throwing down the truth.
Very well. I've told you the truth, but only a part of it. Now I see I shall have to tell you the whole truth.
And nothing but, so help you.
Shut the door, Mr. Ellington.
Oh, he hears it. Playing games.
As I have heard it every hour of every day for 5 long years.
Why did you lie?
I didn't. When I told you that no man howled at the Hermitage, I was being perfectly honest. What you saw is not a man. It is the devil himself.
Oh. Dramatic commercial pause. Oh, and we're back.
What you saw in the cell is Satan, the devil. You believe me, don't you?
Sure, of course.
Don't believe me at all. Quite to the contrary. But I am mad. Meet tell you a story, and we'll see how certain you are that I am mad. You consider us to be primitive because we live here in solitude.
I assure you, brother, that...
No, Mr. Ellington, I am not the ignorant fanatic I would appear. This staff merely the results of a different point of view. You could listen to what I have to say with an open mind.
We'll get to it.
Our job was to tend the vineyards and save what souls we could by constant prayer. We feel that we are recognized by God. We believe it to be man's greatest weapon against the devil, who is the father of all lies. Shortly after the Great War, the world was in chaos. Everywhere was unhappiness. For some reason, the people of Swartsoft refused to yield to despair. They continued as they had been for centuries. This village was a plum to Satan, one he could not resist. So he came here.
Okay.
He made the same mistake that you have made. He thought he would have no difficulty in tempting the old fool.
The devil, how do you keep him locked up?
With the staff of truth. Wherever there was sin, wherever there was corruption and persecution, sometimes he was only a spectator, a face in the crowd. But always he was there. Think of the peace of the world these last 5 years. Is there another like it?
Put an end to suffering, but still murders, robberies. Even now while we're talking, people are starving.
We cause most of our own griefs. We need no help from him. It's the great wars, the overwhelming pestilences, the wholesale sinning that we have stopped.
I feel like he's gonna like set him free or something, and it turns out this guy is telling the truth.
Well, I admit I was doubtful at first, but you've convinced me.
But he won't.
Tomorrow, if you feel well enough, you may leave.
Oh, thanks.
Go directly to his room.
Good night, brother.
He lied to you, didn't he? You don't believe him, do you?
No, of course not.
The authorities would return and find nothing. Jerome is mad.
Uh-oh.
Brother Jerome was fearful you might lose your way.
Should probably put a guard in that door.
Why are you locking the door?
To protect you. Remember, you're still a very sick man.
Must be in like a deep, whatever you call it, meditation. Where's this guy out of it?
You've come. Good.
What do you want me to do? Hold you in?
Yes, lift it off.
Why haven't you done it yourself?
If you fail now, they'll kill both of us.
Uh-oh.
Hurry! Hurry!
Don't do it.
Stop! Stop!
No. Oh, man. You just messed up.
Put this on, the storm.
Just let the devil out. All right. Hooray, hooray. Look what you did.
I'm sorry for you, my son. All your life you will remember this night, and you'll know, Mr. Ellington, whom you have turned loose upon the world.
I didn't believe you. I saw him and didn't recognize him.
That is man's weakness.
In that moment, I decided to spend the rest of my life tracking him down. The evil that soon took the shape of the Second World War. I swore I'd find him again, as Brother Jerome had done. See, I have him in there now. Let's go near that door. You see how important it is that he stay locked up. I'm sending him back to Brother Jerome. Pay no attention to that. It's a trick, I know.
Told his story. She's probably gonna release him.
Keep that door locked.
Don't do it. Don't do it. She's gonna do it.
You can catch the devil, but you can't hold him long in the Twilight Zone.
Well, that was The Howling Man, Season 2, Episode 5. I enjoyed it. One of probably the better episodes so far this season I have liked over all the rest of them. I mean, I didn't know what we were getting into. I thought it was more like possibly a wolf man who was doing the howling. It kind of coincided with it, but it turns out it was the devil behind that door. That was the person that nobody should have let out, and for 5 years there was more of a peaceful earth, evidently, and this guy ended up starting World War II, and all because of one man who believed in another one, believing that these monks were holding somebody innocent below the bowels of their church, when it turns out they were holding the actual devil. And, the maid ended up falling for it in the end. So when you have a secret like that, I guess maybe keep a better secret. Maybe lock them behind a door that locks, as well as isn't just being held by a single staff. Try to keep it to where if you're holding the actual devil, put them behind several doors with that staff or something like it, or just the symbol of, to keep them at bay. But this is the Twilight Zone. It's usually simple and straightforward, so I can understand why they don't go into all of those. It would just make too much sense. But I enjoyed this episode, especially since it's a devil story, and I enjoy a devil story when they have them, like the Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves, and also End of Days. Gabriel Byrne played the devil in that one. Al Pacino was the devil in the Devil's Advocate. But I mean, there's so many different movies where the devil is played by a single solitary person. I really like how they depict evil very devilish in Legend, which is a Ridley Scott movie that came out in the mid 80s with Tom Cruise. And really awesome movie. Check that out if you haven't seen it. But I like a good devil story, and I'm hoping there's probably more devil stories heading forward into the Twilight Zone in the later seasons, or possibly the later incarnations of the actual show, because I will be jumping into those as well at some point. I think there was one that came out in the 80s, another one in the early 2000s, and then there was the recent Jordan Peele versions. I think there was 2 seasons of that, and I think I might do a Creep Show, which is like 4 or 5 seasons of that, and I love the movies, so it'd be interesting to jump into the actual episodes and see how that's going, because that's more of a modern take on what we're actually watching now. So let me know, comment below if you would want me to jump into Creep Show, and let's jump into some trivia and see what it took to get this episode off the ground. This episode takes place in 1924 and 1960. Yes. John Carradine, who plays Brother Jerome, later played Professor Alex Stottle in Still Life, The Little People of Killarney Woods, and The Misfortune Cookie, 1986. Must be other Twilight Zone episodes. Charles Beaumont had originally envisioned the monks would keep the Howling Man imprisoned by putting a cross in front of his cell. Fearful of a backlash in this religious community, the producers substituted the Staff of Truth over Beaumont's objections. Satan's transformation before Ellington's eyes does not happen in the source story. In that version, Ellington only learns the truth later years when he sees newspaper photographs of the Howling Man, who has become a Nazi commander invading Poland. I actually like the change that you got to visually see him turn into the devil and kind of fly away. There was also a little segment that kind of is reminiscent of this in Tales from the Dark Side, which is something I reacted to months ago. And it kind of has a segment where you see this thing turn into the creature and fly away, noting that, what they were involved in was some sort of creature, gargoyles, something from hell, sort of demon spawn. And I like when they do that, where it kind of reveals that what we've been dealing with, it wasn't such a nice guy in that cell, it was actually an evil incarnation of Satan. But anyways, let me know, comment below what you thought of this episode, and next week I will read the comments in the introduction of the episode before getting into the next episode, which is episode 6. But let me know, comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue on this voyage to episode 156 of the Twilight Zone. And until next time, see you later.